Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. To all new viewers, this is Jamaitians channel. Thanks for watching. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe. Um, for those of you who don't know already, my husband and I, we visited Tanzania back in June, and then shortly after, we decided to relocate our family. So between visiting and relocating, we just picked up some tips along the way, and some things that you may already know and some things that you might not know. It's definitely helped us in our family as we transition. So if you want to watch, continue to do so. And yeah, so let's get right into it. So I round up about 10 tips. Okay, and the first one is something I'm sure you guys all have heard before, but it's definitely do your research. Do your own research. Okay, it's great to hear from others. It's great to watch the videos. It's great to, speak to those who've gone through the process before. And this is just for visiting, but do your own research. Do your own research. The second tip, and forgive me, I'm looking down, I wrote these things down so I wouldn't forget, and you already know about the mommy brain. So, yeah, so do your research, because, guys, perhaps you just want to visit. After doing your research, you might find out, you just want to go visit and have a good time, or perhaps after research, you don't want to go at all, you don't want to just get sucked into the hype of it all, and it's kind of funny because on our first trip to Tanzania, on our way back home to the States, the husband and I, we had a long layover in Dubai. For those who haven't seen, I'll definitely attach those links to the description box in the bottom. But yeah, and I have to admit, I probably just did get caught up in the whole hype of visiting Dubai. It was actually one of our first decisions on where to visit. We just decided not to go, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that we ended up just going to the motherland and spending most of our time there. But yeah, and I found out that it's not for me. It's not for me. So definitely do your own research. Figure out where you want to go and why and all that good stuff. Number two, if it's possible, especially if you're considering the possibility of relocating, if it's possible, you definitely want to take an initial trip. If you're not, I understand some people just, they're able to just pop up and go. Probably a few years later, I would have just done the same thing. Just go and, see where the wind takes us. But if you're able to take that initial trip to go visit first and, get that initial experience, you should definitely consider that, especially if it's a family possibility of relocating. Okay. Number three, on your trip, you definitely want to take mental or physical notes, literally notes, You definitely want to take notes on your likes, your dislikes, your family's needs, what one area of the place you visit you may not like compared to others. If you have the time, definitely, sprinkle your time in different regions, if you have the time, if you have the money, but definitely just take mental notes of what will work for you and your family and what will not. Like for instance, for our family, my personal, and if it's my needs, it's their needs too. My personal needs was definitely, my number one priority was making sure my son, my youngest, Richard, he's on a spectrum, so I definitely want to make sure that there were schools available, for to meet his needs. That's something that's very important. And number four is definitely enjoy your time there, but definitely get involved in the culture at all. Just don't just stick with the safaris and things of that nature. But those are great. Those are fun, and that definitely helps the economy there as well, you know. But you definitely want to be able to embrace the culture, embrace the traditions, you know, get involved with the locals. Because especially if you're thinking about relocating, you know, if you're just visiting and you want to live the tourist life, hey, I'm not knocking it, you know. But definitely, if you're thinking about relocating, you definitely want to embrace the locals and see what's happening out there. Okay, so those first four tips are definitely more towards visiting the area, you know, visiting the motherland, visiting wherever you want to go, really. I believe that these tips can definitely help, you know, in any journey you take. Um, but when thinking about relocating, tip number 5 is the same as tip number 1. Do your research. And this time around, you definitely want to do a more intense research. Okay, you want to think about the things that you wouldn't think about if it was just a trip. You know, you gotta think about your the place you would want to stay. Think about the types of foods that they have. What can the different needs your family have. Um, for me, for instance, doctors, being that I was pregnant traveling, am still pregnant, you know. So just definitely do your due diligence. And oh, side note, Diligent, that is my maiden name. Aha. But besides the point, that was a fun fact. You definitely want to do your due diligence and definitely do your own extensive research, because you can't always just rely on hearsay or what, you know, or what people are telling you and things like that. And your first initial research more or less was just about you just visiting. So you definitely want to, you know, be more thorough this time around. Number 6, which okay, number 6 is pack efficiently, which for us, for me especially, like I was so grateful that when we visited in June in Tanzania, and especially Arusha area, it was cold. It was cold, y'all. It was cold. There was definitely a need for sweaters and jackets, you know, and the shawls and all that stuff that they wear. You know, it was cold, because I had it in my mind that it was gonna be blazing hot the whole time. So definitely, you know, pack efficiently. Like I was so glad to have had experienced that, because honestly, we was already considering relocating, and I would have gone back home and given away all my sweaters, all my jackets, thinking, nah, I'm about to live the, you know. So definitely, you definitely want to pack efficiently. And also, that was tip number 6. But tip number like 6B, what if you want to call it so, you definitely want to pack certain things that's going to stay on your person. You definitely want to keep them aside. For instance, medicines you might be taking, prenatals. What else? Passports, things you don't want to get mixed up in your regular luggage. You definitely want to keep in mind. Books you may want to read, snacks you may want to take on a plane with you. Just specific things that you definitely want on your person. Keep those things in mind. Number 7. This is where it gets a little bit more serious, you guys. Number 7 is for basically if you have certain things back in the States that are still happening. Certain things that are still dependent on you to take care of, because you know that's where you're coming from. Like for instance, we have a home, you know, we have certain responsibilities. So you definitely, well, for us, you definitely want to have someone there that you trust that takes care of different things that need to be taken care of. And that has, because there's certain things where you have to take a power of an attorney, for instance, okay? Because there's certain things that, requires signatures and requires, person to person, that can't be done online. It can't be done through e-signing or over the phone. So, you definitely want to consider those things. Life insurance, for instance. If you're a family, you may have insurance, you may not. I don't know. It's a good idea to prepare for those kind of things. But yeah, you definitely want to have your T's crossed, your I's dotted, because for us, for instance, we've it's been a journey, in the last few months. We've had to go back. I know on one of my latest videos we did discuss how Mr. Gordon had to go back to the States and take care of some business, in which that was part of it. Was because we didn't have someone that was already in the States to say, okay, yes, they can sign for us, yes, they can do this, and these were important factors. So you definitely want to get that done before you make your final move. It'll save a trip, save you some coins, someone you trust, and get that stuff taken care of. Tip number 8, you guys, is basically, it involves tip number 1 and tip number 5 as far as doing your research. If you're traveling with children, you definitely want to know all that is tied into as far as their visas. For instance, when we was coming to Tanzania, the children's visas cost the same as, a regular adult visas. But when we got the visas, we didn't find this out till, months later when we was trying to, get our residency, which that's a whole other video we'll get into. But the children's visas were supposed to look the same as mine, and it didn't. It had a certain stamp, and you don't know until you know. So, and I'll insert a picture to show you the difference in before and after, but it definitely did not have what it needed to have. We got through, but when it was time for residency, we came up with some issues. Okay, so definitely do your research, know the prices, know everything. Especially those are the important things that you need to know. It'll save you in the long run as well. Okay, guys, so tip number 9 is income. Income. How do you plan to survive? How do you plan to live? How do you plan to take care of your family? It's very important. And keep in mind, the visiting and relocating are 2 different things, and those require 2 different types of, funds. You can decide when you're visiting, you want to go all out, do all the touristy things, which is great, do your thing. But when you're living somewhere, it's totally different. So you want to keep those things in mind, and keep in mind how you want to live. Not everybody wants to, nobody wants to live the same type of lifestyle. So what do you want? And how are you going to fund that? Keep that in mind. And finally, guys, tip number 10. Tip number 10 is basically, where are you staying? Okay, during your adjustment period with you or your family, where do you plan to lay your head at night? There's Airbnbs, there's all types of options. They're staying with close friends, and just have that in mind. You need to have that set. When you come off that plane, you have a place to go. That being said, if you are staying with friends or close family type friends, you definitely don't want to be that person that just takes advantage. You know, you may not come with a whole lot of money or whatever, but there's ways to contribute, okay? Don't take advantage of people. Don't take advantage of their kindness. You know, wash a dish, okay?